about 30 minutes. Our schedules have been adjusted. Bunny is traveling today, so she has a very full travel day with children. So she has to get a head start. And so it's going to be you and me. And if you have any questions or comments, by all means, put them in the comment box on YouTube, and I will do my absolute best to address them during the show. We always kind of do a little bit of background. What are we here for? We cover game, pickup, relationships, and sex. And when I say we, I mean myself and my Playboy's Bunny, who joins me on Thursday mornings at 7 a.m. And we fall under the umbrella of the Red Pill, which is MGTOW and men's rights activists and anything that has to do with intersexual dynamics. And that is kind of an umbrella term. We are more tactical. When you come to our timeline or watch a video or hear us in a discussion, we always want you to walk away with a tactical, applicable skill that you can apply that day, either to moving a girl from a complete stranger to naked in your bed, or to a long-term relationship, or even to reignite a 20 or 30-year marriage that has kind of faltered, which happens in the normal cycle of life. So that's what we do. And we always start off with a maxim from Chateau Artiste. And today it's number 57. There's roughly 200 maxims. He says, beta males mate guard, alpha males disregard. Chateau Artiste. And what he means by this is beta males, well, you'll see guys be publicly in a certain way defensive in public. They always have their hand on the girl. They, are wary of other men speaking to her. Their jealousy is easily aroused within them, and they show it. It's okay to have. It's one thing to have it. It's another thing to show it. And beta males will tend to defend, and both physically, mentally, logistically, their women away from other men, not so much as a possession type, but more of a fear type. A lot of this comes from what are his motivations, or what are his perceived motivations. And beta males will tend to work out of fear and a lack of options. Whereas alpha males, and this is a generalization, make no mistake, very specific situations can require a change of tactics. Alpha males tend to, that's what I should be saying. This is the vast majority of instances. Alpha males will tend to disregard one out of confidence in her fidelity, confidence in his ability to keep her locked in and attracted to him, and also that he has options. Should a girl wander off, alpha males don't tend to take it too badly because they're on to the next girl. They chalk it up to the game, for lack of a better phrase. And so that's one of the reasons that alpha males tend to not deal with jealousy in quite a dramatic, reactive, negative to him reaction. They tend to roll with the punches. And, because when the guy has lots of experience, so therefore he knows that even though this girl's important today, what do we always say? She's not yours. She's just yours right now. That's really kind of ingrained in guys that have a lot of experience, that she's here and now. And at some point she won't be here, and she'll be with someone else, and I'll probably be with someone or someone's else. So that's it. It creates a different dynamic. And if there is any jealousy, guys are always competitive, but you also see, especially with people that are older, there'll be a little bit less jealousy. They know how to deal with it. They know that a lot of things are not as important as you think they are when you're younger and less experienced. And so there's a little less um, emotion. Not so much. Not it's not that there's not emotional investment made, but there's less emotional reaction to something going bad. And again, when you have options for a lot of beta males, the girl that's in front of him is like the beginning and the end. It may be one of his first girlfriends, or the second, or the best looking girl he's ever been with. Whereas alpha males, it's kind of like there's more experience there, so it's more of a. It's not his first fight. It's not his first game. It's not his first rodeo. So you become a little bit more less. You become less reactive to the ups and downs of wins and losses. So that's the real deal. With beta males, tend to mate guard. They tend to be more jealous. They tend to act more jealous. They tend to be more weary, and they'll do it usually in more of a. They don't have a sense of humor about themselves about it, and it comes off as petty, jealous, not attractive for a lot of girls. And for alpha males, a lack of concern for it's kind of like what do you do when a girl tries to make you jealous by flirting with another man? You give her pointers. This is what you need to do. So it's flipping the script and keeping a light heart about it. And there's times to get serious, but for the vast majority, if you have an attractive girlfriend, wife, girl that you're out with, other men are going to hit on her. And that's something that you just kind of get used to when you date attractive women. It's part of the game. What I used to have this Land Rover that was a pain in the ass, and somebody was asking where it was, and of course it was like being towed like it always was. And I said, Land Rovers are like beautiful women. You're going to have problems, and that's just the way it is. I mean, generally, you're going to, if you date attractive women, men are going to hit on them. Sometimes around you, like they'll work around you behind your back. And so you have to take each instance on its merits and deal with it accordingly. But that's the real deal. At the end of the day, the vast majority, beta males mate guard. They tend to have more jealousy and more jealous behaviors. Alpha males tend to disregard. They feel that she is this is part of the game. So the jealousy isn't as sparked or dramatic or confrontational. And he knows that should something happen, he does have options. He's been through this before. It's not that she's not valuable. It's not that she's not important. It's that this has happened in the past, and it will probably happen here, and it will happen in the future because it's part of the game. And that's the real deal with Chateau Hartis Maxim number 57. I hope that explains everything. And jealousy is a very touchy, it's a very individualized subject. You kind of have to take each instance and each situation on its own merits. Next tweet. You can fuck a girl one time and she will ghost. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. The ex is back in town. She was on a break and now they're not on a break. Her boyfriend, she has a boyfriend, but she's just testing the waters. A lot of times girls will just go, well, I wonder what else is out there. And you happen to come across her field of vision. She likes to sports fuck. She just likes to have a good time. You're a type that she had never fucked before, and she wanted to try it out. And girls have admitted this before, and they're like, oh, I'd never, fucked a weightlifter before, and I just wanted to know what it was like. They'll be honest with you when they recognize you're in the game, or you kind of just get it. They're trying out types of men, jocks, gamers, skaters, whatever your specialty is. They want to test you out. Some are too shy to kind of admit that, but it's not unusual that a younger girl will be trying out different types of men to see what she really likes. And a lot of times, if they're young enough, they're just experimenting. So they're one and done. And they know that. They know that going in. I'm going to bang this guy one time, then I'm going to ghost. So the thing that you have to remember is if in general, most of the women you fuck and they stick around and they're normal and you can reach them and you might go out a few times. If a girl ghosts, and it's the anomaly. It's not every one of them. Don't change anything. Because guys are always like, hey, I went out with this one girl and she ghosted after we fucked. Am I doing something wrong? Do I need to see a sex therapist? Am I bad in bed? No. No. It has absolutely nothing to do with you whatsoever. And that's probably one of the most pivotal, most important concepts of game to recognize as a player, a playboy, a womanizer, a aspiring Casanova, is most of what women do, especially if you're not in a relationship, an exclusive relationship with them, has absolutely nothing to do with you whatsoever. It's not your breath. It's not your wealth. It's not your lack of wealth. It's not the car you drive. It's not the 75 girlfriends you have. It's not, the shoes that you wear. It's not that you ordered the wrong drink. It's none of these things men imagine that it could be. It's her. It's something going on with her. And most of the time, should she circle back, she will tell you that an ex showed up on her doorstep. 99% of the time when I had girls ghost, and then they would circle back because they tried to get back with their ex-husband or their baby's dad or their ex-boyfriend. And again, it didn't work out. She'll come back. You guys start fucking around. It's later that night. It's the next morning. She goes, hey, I'm sorry I kind of disappeared on you. But my ex-husband, he's the father of my 3 kids. And I felt obligated. We wanted to give it one more shot and see if it would work out. And so I wanted to be able to focus on that. And I apologize for kind of disappearing, but it didn't work out again. Needless to say. So that's normally what you'll hear. An ex-boyfriend, their boyfriend got out of jail. He came back from out of town, or him and the girl that he left her for broke up with him. And now he's back on the scene and it didn't work out. So 99% of the time, somebody with more presence and more history came back, and girls tend to give that guy a shot. And you're an unknown quantity. And it's not that you're not better than the other guys. It's not that, because you see him and you're like, really? You have to realize that there's just more of a history, a relationship. It's kind of like employees or clients that have been with you and they step away from whatever service you provide for a while. Then they come back. You're always glad to see clients returning. You're always, because you're familiar with them. So it's way easier to reignite something with somebody you've already kind of know them than to build completely brand new. That's, why, because there's a presence, a prescience, and a history there. So you can fuck a girl one time and she will ghost, but you have to realize if this is not a habit, it has nothing to do with you. An ex is back. They were on a break. She has a boyfriend, but she's testing the waters. She likes to sports fuck. There's nothing wrong with that. Or she's trying out new types of men, jocks, gamers, skaters, etc. Again, do not change anything you're doing. It's part of the game. So, how often, it's hard to say because a lot of it is timing and you don't always know. Bouncer asks, how common do you encounter girls with boyfriends who still slept with you? You got to remember, you'll have girls that end up being your girlfriend that you won't know that she had a boyfriend when she first started hooking up with you. Girls tend to overlay relationships through serial monogamy. I saw a pretty good tweet on this the other day. They break up with you. They're with you, but in their mind, they break up with you. They start dating around. They're still with you. They sleep with a couple different guys. They lay down a foundation for a new boyfriend, because guys always go, well, how does she move on so quickly? Well, she already had a new boyfriend before she left you. This is not unusual. There's two things going on with how do women recover so quickly from a relationship. One, she breaks up with you before the breakup and actually has a new boyfriend chosen, and she's actually already seeing him. This is not unusual. Not unusual at all. She's already established a new relationship, and then she breaks up with you. You are simply the last to know. She knows, her girlfriends know, her new boyfriend doesn't know he's the boyfriend yet, but he'll know the same day she breaks up with you. And this is normal. This is not a psychopath. This is normal girl behavior. And the other one is that girls will identify one or two or three guys that she kind of knows she can draw in, because they're not going to sit around on their hands wondering what happened. They know what happened. They decide to break up with you. And they will be sleeping with somebody the same day. They'll have two or three orbiters, and they're like, well, I'm going to just start going out with these guys and pick one. And that they know. They just know. It's not even like, I hope it works out. It's just they'll pick one of the two or three guys that are like their biggest fans instead of going after an unknown quantity. That's why. So you're not going to know. Just across the board, the more women you have sex with, the more women you hook up with, the more likely the chance is she has a current boyfriend or a boyfriend that isn't aware that she's broken up with him in her mind, and she's just testing the waters. So, you don't know, but the more women you deal with and the more women that recognize you as a player, as a guy that just gets it, the more likely it will happen. Girls tend to test the waters out with known players more than they will with an innocent guy, a naive guy, because he's going to get attached fast. Whereas a guy who's kind of like juggling women and maybe slept with a couple of her friends, she knows he's high quality, high value, but he's not going to be like asking where she's going, looking for, showing up on her doorstep while she still has a boyfriend. So the chance of, if you're a known player and girls kind of smell it on you, the chances are higher that she's going to have a boyfriend. That's the real deal. I hope that answers your question. Again, you can't always know your numbers because they keep it secret. It's, they're not proud of it. It's just the way they're built. It's how they do things. But you just need to know that part for yourself, that's why, when you're a player, you're going to run into this more often, but you can't react to it because it's part of the game. So that's the real deal. I hope that answers your question, Bouncer 182, and I appreciate your question. Let's see what else we got here today, because we got like 11 minutes left. I always try to convey this to guys. There's certain guys that are going to kind of reveal their hand as being extremely logical. They're in their own head. They are very fact-based. They do not care for or have a lot of emotional life. And they tend to struggle when it comes to women. And they'll usually give themselves away with one single phrase. They'll say, I don't like to play games. They want women unwittingly, the way they describe it, they'll want somebody who's logical, even-tempered, not emotional, that says what they're going to, that does what they say they're going to do, that's on time, that doesn't succumb to their own emotions. So what he's basically wanting to do is date a man. And sometimes that might be the better option. But what he's describing is men. But women aren't men. So guys that are very logical, unemotional, no levity, they don't have a lot of humor, they can do okay with women, but it's a little bit harder. And if they want a variety of women, it's going to be much harder. So if you're a super serious, logical, fair and square guy, picking up and keeping girls is going to be a little more challenging, but not impossible. A lot of men, by ethnicity, genetics, upbringing, need to take themselves extremely seriously, and that's okay. That's just the way they're built. And it doesn't mean you have to like change who you are. You just have to, what would you say? You might have to soften the edges a little bit. And Bunny mentioned this yesterday too, because we were on this subject of super serious men finding attractive women. And I mean, they still want to attract fun, feminine women. They have to have a little bit more levity. And Bunny made a good point, like watch more comedy shows. Maybe take a improv class. That would pull somebody. I mean, that may be so far and out of your range that it's good for you. Anything with humor, watch stand-up comedy, go to stand-up shows, just take it in, even listen to it on podcasts or on the way to work. I probably wouldn't recommend some of like the male podcasts, which we find funny, because it doesn't translate. Like purely male humor between two idiots doesn't translate in front of women so much. It has to be more of a teasing. And like, that's what another thing that Bunny said, you kind of have to realize that girls are all teenagers. So you can't take them serious. You have to kind of treat them like your little sister. You don't take anything they say seriously. You keep your sense of humor about you. Anything they do is funny and cute. We call it amuse mastery. And you kind of are over her, and you are over her because you're responsible for her fuck ups and the good things that she does at the end of the day. But you have to have some sense of humor, because girls will drive you insane. They're going to do crazy stuff out of nowhere, and they don't even know why they're doing it, because they're succumbing to their emotions quite often. They felt like it. I felt like doing this. I just didn't feel like doing that. So for very logical, unemotional men, they find it a challenge. It's a little bit more of a challenge, but it can be dealt with. You just have to soften the edges and not take the girls seriously. And through practice, it becomes easier. You become less reactive, and you get to have fun with them more. Because some guys, it stresses them out and they're not having any fun. But once you kind of like learn how to manage it better, kind of like managing people, how to manage girls better through experience and through having some skills, you'll do better. So if you're a super serious, logical, fair and square guy, picking up and keeping girls is going to be a little bit more challenging, but it's not impossible. A lot of men, by ethnicity, genetics, upbringing, need to take themselves extremely seriously, and that's okay. But when it comes to your wife, your girlfriend, girls, you have to soften the edges a little bit and have some sense of humor and treat them like teenagers that are enthralled with everything you do. Because they do. They find these super serious guys to be interesting because it's so far from who they are. So just know that. It's not you're trying to win her over. It's that she finds you interesting, and you might as well use that interest to your best interest. We're going to wrap it up today because we're running such a tight schedule. If you like what you saw and you want to continue your studies per se, we have at fortworthplayboy.gumroad.com every book we've ever written, and at myplayboysbunny.gumroad.com we have every book Bunny's ever put together. But you can get The Best of Chateau 1, 2, or 3, How to Be an Asshole, everything under the sun that you could ever need to move a girl from complete stranger to naked and in your bed to reigniting a marriage after 20 or 30 years and reigniting the spark. That's within our 2 libraries. And we appreciate you watching. We appreciate your questions, and we appreciate your financial support. And we will be back here at 7 a.m. on Monday. Even though it's Memorial Day, we'll be here. And I hope you guys have a great day.